Okay, so you're probably going to see this story across the internet. If you are, it's probably better you hear it from somebody who actually knows the subject matter pretty damn well. Because I've played the content that this developer made. I kind of vaguely know the impact that had on the team, which does make this a fairly interesting story that puts a bit more of a human dimension on the sort of thing that we usually just see as like very broad, numbers-driven news. So, World of Warcraft team. The TLDR, if you're not even in WoW, the TLDR of what to understand there is they are shipping better content than they have in a very long time, and they are shipping more content than they have in a very long time. The thing that they're lacking is a degree of cool factor, a degree of wow factor, but the general quality and quantity is significantly better, and most importantly, the quality of the decision makings and the decently rapid responses to player feedback are a marked change from the past. This is a humongous opportunity for them. So, when you hear people talking about crisis maps who work in that team, when you hear people not be particularly, feeling good about their future on the team, you start to worry. You start to think, are they going to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory? So today we've got a little bit of a human angle. The last time we had a more human angle in this was Brian Birmingham, who was, I believe, technical lead on WoW Classic. He ended up being, for a brief period of time, sort of de facto face of that project, and of course he basically quit in protest over essentially him not having the ability to lead his team over the RTO policy, which ultimately would just mean people in his team would go and get a job elsewhere, people who are going to give them a better deal. Today's story then is Eric Covington. So Eric was a quest designer working on World of Warcraft, right? About 2 months ago, he said he's no longer with Blizzard Entertainment after almost 9 years. I was on the Quest team. I have design experience across multiple disciplines, looking for work. Now, later on, he would basically say, I'm leaving, but it's not exactly of my, it's not of my own accord. This wasn't my choice. Broadly speaking, we have seen a trickle of people leave this team. And there's always a standard amount of turnover in any team, but to people who have generally been happy at the direction I was going, it's been concerning to see people consistently saying, oh, I'm leaving. A very good example, the new tier gear, right, which is the armor that you can get that is designed for your class. That's one of the main things you're going to want to get in a new patch that people get excited for. As an example, the priest tier. It's one of the best looking pieces, one of the best looking armor sets that I think we've had in the game in an extremely long time. And that artist's previous work was also absolutely incredible. You click on their bio now, Riot Games. They've left. So in this case, he basically got fired for writing a joke. Now, the context is important here. I saw a bunch of people saying, oh, this is forcing politics into my World of Warcraft. The joke was said by a goblin from the Venture Company. The Venture Company have been in World of Warcraft since 2004. Well, obviously since release. Technically, beta, alpha, the Venture Co have been a thing. The Venture Co, very broadly speaking, are a big satirization of greed and extraction and everything. If you go to somewhere that's beautiful, the Venture Co will be there trying to pump oil out of it and ruin the place and kill all the wildlife. That has been in WoW for such a long time. Since the very beginning. For a loot goblin. Here, a Venture Company goblin. He said, I wrote jokes lampooning generic corporate greed for a Venture Company loot goblin, which is very in character, and he is correct. That is the most in character thing for a Venture Co Goblin to say. But then leadership walked face first into the joke after string lock. String lock, I'm assuming, so coders will, you know how it is, right? But yeah, string lock. So that's basically just going to be our text that is player facing. It is on lock now, and we're moving into QA to finish the patch. So it was in there, made it into string lock, right? Someone in leadership walked into it in the game. We later know that it was that happened. And at that time, of course, his focus was on getting the patch done. And because this leader was, Eric says, embarrassed, I'm no longer at Blizzard. Now, whether that's embarrassment or not, the point is leadership saw a joke from a greedy goblin who is a member of a... of a faction in-game that has always been a satirization of greed, and they saw them make a joke. Yeah, got offended. Now, the reason I think why Eric posted this is this puff piece from Variety on Bobby Kotick. It's quite funny. Bobby even talks about how he's in a union and therefore he is very pro-union, which is quite funny when you hear what's went on at some of their studios. We'll get into this article in a later video today. I just want to walk you through this story and provide you with context so you understand what's up, especially how this piece of content that we're talking about, which is patch 10.0.7, this was a fairly early patch in Dragonflight. We got 10.0.5, then 10.0.7 actually added quite a lot of content. It added these like vaults. You basically get keys for different doors in the vault, and it would all be like a big interconnected puzzle. It's actually a really, really cool bit of content. So for what it was, this patch was really great. And from what we understand, they basically assembled a small strike team to execute on this patch. And ultimately that meant that very, very quickly after the expansion came out, players actually got new content to play. Very different to the situation in, say, Shadowlands, where it took absolutely ages for any new content to make it into the game. Now, some of the jokes here are things like finders keepers, all according to plan, another record quarter for revenue, if only I was a master looter, which is a joke at the master looter system, no profit sharing, never skip leg day. Too bad the loot was best in slot. Of course, the one that is called out there, let's call this a cost of living adjustment. Which, in this case, is funny because it's a loot goblin that goes, snatches your stuff, goes, and then, goblins away. And it's completely in character for the Venture Company. So this is the sort of thing that has been in World of Warcraft since the very beginning. This is just another quest designer continuing in the tradition of writing jokes for Venture Company goblins. Now, this was used in the marketing for World of Warcraft as well. World of Warcraft is really good at Twitter now. They actually hired a member of the community, and I have to assume it's them who's running their Twitter account, but they're doing a great job. And some of those things, like one of his jokes there that you could maybe consider to be slightly more spicy. I think, it's like the first one that plays in the advert, right? In the Twitter marketing material that Blizzard themselves posted. Now, of course, after he pointed out the hypocrisy, they then took it down. And this was used for marketing and promoting the game before, during, and after he was separated. At some point, he points out how ridiculous this is, and they just take it down. He says, no consideration or trust extended to at least ask me what my intentions were for the character. Was it targeted at anybody? Nope. No polite request to let me handle it, or hotfix some lines, in because of circumstances. I would have willingly and understandably helped. So this is a case of you're fired, it seems. Not a case of this joke, we feel like this is some internal activism, blah, blah, we don't want... No. Seemingly no dialogue, just, gone, right? Which is pretty crazy. It's the sort of thing, if that happened in many countries that are not the United States, you would probably have some sort of... you'd have some sort of legal process be going on. There would probably be an employment tribunal. Anyhow. He also says, because there is a joke there about your return to the office. Additionally, I was in the camp of being excited for returning to the office because of how it benefited my personal working style. I'd be with Eric. If I had complete work from home freedom, I would be in the office most of the time because it's what I happen to prefer. And I was excited to see my colleagues again. Also, I did champion for the people to be offered the work style that they required, be that, from home or hybrid or whatever. There's, plenty of proof of that. It's funny. The anger about just go to the office, man up, whatever. I tend to see that from American accounts. And I always really find that funny because, it's America. It's supposed to be the big free market country. So the idea that offering less flexible work, it's like the idea that makes a company less attractive in the labor market. That actually, I don't know why that they don't put two and two together. Because the whole point here is that other companies will hire these people with the degree of remote working, and that because of that, Blizzard is losing out on talent, and that means the Blizzard games will be worse, right? It's that's the thing that blows my mind. It's almost like this big culture war aspect comes into it for no particularly useful reason, when actually... No, the labor market is actually what explains this being a bad policy. especially when, in this case, we have proof of the World of Warcraft team delivering their best expansion in a decade, while being completely remote, so it obviously wasn't holding them back too much. In this case, though, he's been there for 9 years, up in smoke without questions because someone looked at an innocuous joke and saw a reflection. They made sure to hustle and get me out before the end of the month, in full knowledge that benefits would expire the next day. So that's pretty cool. I did see, and I don't want to read into it because, you know, we've got to be careful here. Somebody basically poked the idea of like, oh, did Ybarra, leader of Blizzard, did Ybarra run into this when because he's a WoW player, and you know, did he then get angry and fire you? And Eric did like that tweet. I'm not going to take that as an affirmation that it was just, oh, Ybarra got angry or something. He says, I'm still grateful for the love and support of my friends and colleagues who are not pleased with the decision, to put things lightly. Now, this is another interesting thing. In many cases, and this goes for the people who basically leaked to the press about the internal health of the Diablo 4 team, where they were essentially telling the press, listen, like, our bosses, our direct reports up the chain, they are not pleased about what's going on, and there is nothing that they can do. They just have to grin and bear it. We've heard reports from employees about how some of these policies coming in from Blizzard are directly being protested against by Blizzard's game directors. That means, like, Ian Hazzikostas, I can't believe the Overwatch 2 game director, I can't believe I've forgotten his name. It's on the tip of my tongue. That means, like, those people who ultimately, the quality of the games that we play, the buck stops with them, they are seemingly complaining up the chain of command, not wanting this to happen. And no, chain of command quite obviously disagrees. It goes on to say they do great work, stick up for their peers, and deserve to be treated and compensated fairly. If you're going to be sour towards a company, don't aim it at the devs who are working hard to bring their passions to life and to make fun games we all enjoy. Make your voices heard to the decision makers who act counterintuitive to the well-being of their employees and games, which ultimately, even if the only thing that you care about is the video game and you couldn't care less about the working conditions it's made under, it is still in your best interest to back these people up. Because if the teams that make your games are unraveling and falling apart, that's actually going to mean you get less game content. As an example, we had a producer, I believe on Team 2, the WoW team, who basically said, listen, people are handing in their resignations. We, as producers, are having to make crisis maps. If these people go, we change this content. This gets cut. That gets cut. We don't have scope for this. We don't have scope for that. Now, Dragonflight is an expansion that may have benefited from a swell in company resources, with the acquisition of development team Proletariat adding 100 people to the World of Warcraft headcount, and broad expansion of Blizzard's team under the sort of work from home banner. Now, of course, one of the things about any form of remote working that is useful is it opens you up to a significantly more global pool of talent, right? So, like, if you've got the cash and you can afford it, you're not limited to just people in your city or just people who want to relocate to your city. And that really is a superpower. It is a superpower that plenty of developers are now able to use in the earlier stages. I think that's part of why you do see so much sniping going on within the industry, and why when bad news comes out about Blizzard, what do you see? You see headhunters for like Bungie and other developers just in the tweet saying, hit me up. We offer the things they don't offer you, and also more money. You're obviously just going to take more flexibility and more money. And also, if it's a company that doesn't have a bad reputation and hasn't treated your colleagues poorly, as an example. I can't find the tweet. I know me and Matt talked about it on stream like a little bit ago, but it was that, like, of the team that had been assembled to make Forbidden Reach, like, it was like 2 or 3 people were gone already. And this is basically the consistent thing we hear. I mean, hell, even take Brian Halinka, one of the more well-known names in the World of Warcraft development team. He has since quit and is moving over to Greg Street's MMO startup. We don't know anything else about it other than Greg Street has left Riot and is making an MMO, but that is yet another team that can poach top MMO talent from Blizzard Entertainment. So, overall, then, this stuff looks pretty damn bad. Today, the main objective is to put the human angle, the personal angle on a story, and then I guess for me to mention that, like, yeah, this actually does impact, the games that we play. Take Forbidden Reach. Really good that it was there, and that it was there in such short order. And we've consistently heard Blizzard talk about this expansion having better retention than past expansions. I recently released a video on the main WoW channel that we have, and it's basically going through, it's a usual thing, we kind of do a health checkup on WoW like 3 to 4 times a year to see like what the numbers are for like Mythic Plus runs, what the player numbers are for the raids, and what we saw is, unlike the past where everything was going down, this time it bounced up a bit, but most importantly, from a low baseline, we had a tiny decline, as opposed to in the past where it was just like, one raid tier, half the players are gone. Next raid tier, another half are gone. So the actual retention rates, from the numbers that we can tell, are significantly more healthy than they have been. And that has been off the back of actual real people's work. And this is just an example of one of those actual real people getting the axe. World of Warcraft is not in a state. It is not in a safe place to the degree where you can just get rid of people over a joke in the game that is in character for the NPC who says the joke. Like, Blizzard, you can't do that. World of Warcraft is not back yet. We know its numbers aren't great. We know it's a better game, but ultimately, it needs to not have a kind of mid concept with basically like stuff that isn't hype to people, stuff that isn't just like oozing cool and oozing spectacle in the way that really the best of Blizzard used to be. Right? So Dragonflight won't save WoW. Dragonflight will stabilize WoW, and then it's on their next expansion to actually grow the game again. But if their team is attriting, like even beyond its replacement rate, and morale is bad as these things are happening, as we have constantly seen over the last few months, just more and more Team 2 people saying, yeah, I'm done, bye, I'm away from Blizzard, and they go to Riot, they go to Bungie, they go to wherever. The game can't take that. WoW will only be good or be back again if you have a Legion tier concept that is executed to the level of quality of Dragonflight from a fundamental design perspective and with a similar quantity of content to what Dragonflight has. And if they damage the morale of their team and they lose tenured members of their team, they are putting that in jeopardy. Like, as an example with Eric, 9 years. It takes a long ass time, 9 years in fact, to get someone 9 years of experience working on your game, with your company culture, with your proprietary tools, with whatever the quirks of how your company works are. Like, those are the intangible things. You cannot just hire people to replace a role. It will take them time to actually get back up to speed. And it will also take the time of more senior employees to get those new employees up to speed. That is why churn rate, retention, those are the most important things. And Blizzard absolutely seems to be just obsessed with the spreadsheets, obsessed with the top line numbers, but not actually thinking about how the moving and shifting of those top line numbers actually impact the real product, which at the end of the day is what generates the numbers. It's like Overwatch 2, sure, it had good launch numbers, but a lot of people feel like you pulled a bait and switch in PvE. Diablo 4, we have people from that team speaking to the press saying that, like, they're concerned about their ability to deliver on, like, enough content in the seasons. Because they've got to deliver seasons for Diablo 4 as they are making the new expansions that have, like, the big narrative. And we, of course, have the same with the Warcraft team. That is your pillars of the game under threat. So, I do not know why Blizzard is seemingly so ineffective at doing this kind of thing. In this case, look, that is the story. I don't have too much else to add. I hope that at least throughout this video, I was able to share this with you in a way that maybe provides a bit more WoW context, because I certainly know not all of us are still active WoW players again. Yep, some of you escaped the maze. Congratulations. Okay, that's it from me. Have a great day. I hope you found this at least to be interesting. And remember, while things may feel bad, 2023 is one of the best years we've had for video games. Seriously, the amount of absolutely amazing releases between, like, Tears of the Kingdom and, Permat. And I know he's not been on for a video in a while, but Permat, he has more video games to play than he knows what to do with. It is a genuine problem. So even though we have high-profile issues, do not lose heart, do not lose faith. The industry is still making really brilliant video games, but It may be that you're not able to go to your old familiars to get those amazing video games, but if you step a bit out of your comfort zone, try out some new stuff, you will find great games. It just takes a little bit of effort to go and see what's up. All right, that's it for me. Have a good day, and I'll see you next time.